how to install Waydroid on Pop! OS Linux 22.04. Okay, let's get started. Waydroid. Waydroid is a container-based approach to boot a full Android system on a regular Linux system like Pop! OS. Okay, so let's go to the terminal. And a very important fact you're going to have to know, you're going to have to be in a Wayland session, because the way in Waydroid stands for Wayland. So you can check your session with this command here. I'm in an X session, and I have video on my How to Linux channel on how to enable a Wayland session on your system. Because if you run all this, if you do all these steps and try to launch it, it won't launch. You need to be in Wayland session. I can't be in Wayland because I can't record. My simple screen recorder doesn't record in Wayland sessions, and the couple of screen recorders that I found that are supposed to be working with Wayland just don't work very well. So I'm going to have to stay in X and run it and do the process here in X. On your end, be in Wayland. Of course, after I'm done recording, I'm going to go ahead and verify that everything works on my end by going into a Wayland session. But for now, I'm going to stay in X, but please be in Wayland for your session, okay? So once we've gotten that out of the way, we can go ahead and actually start installing a couple of prerequisite packages that we need to get started. And the first one is going to be this one right here. This is going to install the two prerequisite packages that we need. So once you key this in here, you can pause the video, key it in. Once they're keyed in, you can go ahead and install, enter on that, and you can see I've already got them all installed. There's only two of them: the curl download utility and the certificate authority package. So once they're both installed, we can go ahead and actually install Waydroid. That's going to be kind of a long command. So you can pause the video here and key this long command. It's just like 3 or 4 chained together. Using the curl command, we're going to download a key for the Waydroid repo. We're going to add that repo to our repo list, and then we're going to right to our sources list here, and it's going to update the apt cache so apt can be used to install Waydroid. So once you've keyed, so you can see that they're chained together here. There's a chain there, there's another chain here, and then there's one more here. So it's like 4 altogether. So once that's all keyed in, go ahead and enter on that, and you can go ahead and try to find that Waydroid entry here, which probably wasn't there before. So we added the Waydroid repo to our list, and we're going to use apt to install Waydroid. Okay, so everything is good down here. And we verify that the Waydroid URL has been added to our list. So once we're good there, now we can go ahead and actually install Waydroid with apt. And I have to find the I got a lot of commands here. Okay, and this is the apt command. So it'll be a sudo session, and we're going to use apt to install Waydroid. Okay, pretty straightforward, right? So once you've keyed the installation command in here, you can enter on that. It's already installed on mine. I got 1.3.3. Hopefully you'll get the same thing on your end. Okay, so once we've installed Waydroid, let's go ahead and check system control for a couple of commands here. Check the status, make sure it's been enabled and it's running. So again, I'm going to have to cycle through some of my commands here. Okay, so the first one we're going to want to do is use systemctl to enable the Waydroid container service across reboots, and if it's not started, to start it now. So I'll go ahead and key this in here, and it should be enabled and started now, and we're going to go ahead and verify the status of that. And the command for that will be this one here. So systemctl status Waydroid container. So once you've keyed that in, enter on that. Okay, good. That's what we wanted to see. It's loaded, active, running, green, everything, and it's enabled. Okay, so once we've done all that, we're good to go there. Okay, now it's installed, but if I go in and try to run it here, again, it's installed, but I'm in an X session, not Wayland, so it won't launch for me. So again, be in a Wayland session and it'll launch. Now at that point, after it launches, you're probably going to get an error message saying that there's a module or two, a kernel module or two missing. One's called binder, and the other one's called shmem. Although you might just see binder in the error message in the window. So I know how to go ahead. I know how to install those two kernel modules and inject them into the running kernel. So I'll be back. So okay, actually I don't have to really go anywhere. But a couple things you're going to have to have on your system. You're going to have Git. Again, I'm going to have to toggle through some of my commands here. You're going to have Git. Okay, here we go. You have to have Git on your system. You probably have it on your pop already. So we're going to clone. We're going to clone this GitHub repo to our local system, and you're going to do it with the SSH method. So we're not going to be using the old HTTPS method of cloning GitHub repos, because that's been deprecated for Secure Shell. And if you go on their webpage, GitHub webpage, in your profile settings, there's a section called SSH and GPG, where you can follow instructions on how to generate Secure Shell keys, public and private, how to keep the private on your local machine, and how to copy the public key to your GitHub profile settings. If you don't do that, you probably won't be able to clone it. So once you've made sure you've got Git installed and you've added the Secure Shell key to your GitHub repo, we can go ahead and clone that project to our local drive here. So once you've done all those things and you key the command in here, okay, I already have it. That's why I get this right here. I already have it on mine. But if you have Git and you've done all the Secure Shell key stuff, then you should be able to also download it to your local drive. And then verify it here. Here's the Mbox modules that we just downloaded into my home folder. Okay, so once that's been cloned to your local drive, I'm going to go ahead and CD into it. Right here. Actually, a little bit further back here. We're going to CD into it here. Now we're in that Mbox modules folder that we just cloned. And you're going to have a couple of more packages before we can move on from here. You're going to have DKMS and another one called Linux Headers Generic. So let's find that here. Right here. You're going to have to key in this command here, sudo session apt install. We need DKMS and Linux Headers Generic. This is what we're going to use to inject those kernel modules into the running kernel. So make sure you've got these installed here, and I already have them installed, so that's good. DKMS is the main one, but you want the Linux Headers Generic as well. Okay, so once they're installed, you can clear that, and we can start the actual installation process from within this Mbox modules folder here. This should be your working directory here. Okay. First thing we're going to do is going to copy a couple of configurations. You can check it here. You can always LSA and see what we're dealing with here. A couple of files here. A couple of folders that we're going to deal with here. So files and folders here that we're going to deal with. These four here. Okay. Probably not have to worry about these other ones here, unless you want to run the installation shell script. But it's good to kind of see what it's doing by just doing everything manually, the Linux way. Okay, so we'll clear on that, and we're going to do a couple of copies here. First thing we're going to do is copy. We're going to chain a couple copy commands here with the logical AND operator. We're going to copy this file here to this location, and copy this file to this location here. So once you've keyed those in, go ahead and enter on that, and they've been copied. That's been copied there. That's been copied there, and they're still here in the Mbox modules folder. They've just been copied. So we copy a couple of configuration files, and then we're going to copy a couple of module source code folders. So we'll clear on that. Again, the Mbox modules is our working directory. Always make sure you're here. I'm going to copy a couple of folders here. Okay. So again, this is our working directory. We're going to copy that ashmem folder to this USR source path, and it'll get renamed into this right here, this name here. And the same with the binder folder. It'll be copied to this same path, but it'll have its own custom name. Mbox ashmem-1, Mbox binder-1. So this is the second step for the installation process. We're going to copy these folders to specific locations. So once you've keyed that in, you can enter on that. Okay, that's good. That step is done. And then we're going to use DKMS. Finally, we're going to use DKMS to build and install those kernel modules. So we're going to use DKMS. Okay. And we're going to still be in. Actually, I made a little mistake. We're going to have to CD into. For the first two steps, you want to be in the Mbox modules folder for the two copies, the copying of the first two files and the copying of the second two folders. Then we're going to want to CD into where they were actually copied to. So you want to change your working directory to USR SR source. So you want to be here. This is your working directory for the third step here. So once we're here, then we can use the DKMS. Hold on, let me find it. Okay, USR source is our working directory, and we're going to use DKMS to install this module as version 1, and the other, so the Mbox ashmem module version 1, and we're going to use DKMS to install the other kernel module, Mbox binder, so version 1. So one's ashmem, one's binder. And you'll probably see binder as an error when you launch Waydroid from within a Wayland session. You're going to get this one right here probably. So once you chain these two commands together, go ahead and enter on that. I already have them installed. So if you run it the first time, you'll probably get a clean prompt. If you want to verify it like my screen, then run this command again, and you should get a message that says that they're already installed. You can see the names here. They're already installed. They've already been injected into the running kernel with DKMS, which it stands for Dynamic Kernel Module Service. So it injects these Linux kernel modules into the running Linux kernel here, 5.19. Okay. Okay. So that's the first step. Be back with the second step here. Okay, we're going to verify now by loading those two modules and checking the created devices. Okay, so again, making sure that we're in this working directory here. We're going to use the module probe command twice, and it's going to probe all the installed kernel modules, and it's going to isolate this one, the ashmem Linux, and the binder Linux. So once you've chained these two commands together, go ahead and enter on that. And you won't get any output here, but as long as you get a clean prompt, then you're good for the next step. And we're back with the next step. Okay, one more step to go here. So we're going to use the list, again, we're going to be in this working directory here, and we're going to use the list module command, and it's going to list the modules, but we don't want them all listed, so we're going to pipe that into a grep command, and that's for that stands for Global Regular Expression Finder. So it's going to try to, out of that list here, it's going to find this module name here and this one here, and it should return those back to the screen. Okay, good. It found binder and ashmem. Okay, good. So it found the two kernel modules that we installed and injected into the running kernel. So that's good to that point, and we have one more step to do for verification. Okay, and we're going to check to make sure that the devices that we needed to have created were actually created. Again, in Linux, every file and folder is a device, and every device is a file and folder. Okay, so we're going to list this device here for the binder module, and this device for the memory, for the ashmem device there. For the device, the kernel, the device which is attached to this kernel module, or vice versa. So binder and ashmem and their associated devices here for these kernel modules. So once you key that in, let's see if we get the expected output. Okay, good. Here's the devices here. Device ashmem, device binder, date and time, everything. And then the owner, the root, and then the group owner root. That's fine. And I do believe you can just leave the permissions as they are right here. That shouldn't get in the way of us executing Waydroid. So that's it. And we can clear that. And again, you find it here, and on mine it won't because I'm in an X session. You need to be in Wayland. So once you go to my How to Linux channel and you look at the How to Enable Wayland session, and then you use that INXI space -G command to verify you're in a Wayland session. Then once you've done all the steps we just talked, well, you can be in that session to begin with. And then when you go here and launch it, it should launch, and you'll be in Waydroid. Okay, so that was how to, and then let me show you a couple more things here real quick. Here is the, you can stop the video and get these URLs. This is the repo URL for the Mbox modules. This is the Wayland, the Waydroid. I keep saying Wayland and Waydroid. I get mixed up. The Waydroid start page here, and then from there you can link. From here you can link to the instruction page here, and that's it. And there's good instructions here in case you have some problems starting it. There's a nice troubleshooting section here. Okay, so that's good to know in case you can't start it from the application drawer. You can start it manually from the terminal. Okay, so that was how to install Waydroid on Linux, on Pop! OS Linux 22.04. And a couple of the real quick, in a nutshell, what we did was we made sure that we were in I told you to be in a Wayland session, and then I showed you the couple of prerequisites you have to install, and how to install the URL key and the URL repo to your list, and how to update the apt cache so we can use that to install Waydroid. Then we installed Waydroid, and we checked the Waydroid container service status, and we made sure that it was running now and enabled across reboots. And then I told you that probably at that point, if you when you run it, even if you're in a Wayland session, you probably get something popping up, but it's going to say that you're missing a kernel module. Probably say something. It'll probably the module name will probably be binder. Although it seems like we need to have two of them, binder and ashmem. And then I showed you how to do that, and I told you that you need to have Git installed on your system, and you're going to have the secure shell keys, the public and the private. You have to have that set up between your local machine and GitHub. And then once you've done that, you can clone the project. And then there was a couple of other prerequisite packages to do this part, which was DKMS and Linux headers generic. So we made sure those were installed and installed them. And then we did a handful of steps to actually configure and install the modules. We installed some configuration files into some custom locations. We copied a couple of module source code folders to some specific locations as well. Then we CD'd into that custom location, and we did a couple of checks. So then actually, after we copied the files in the module folders, then we used DKMS to build and install the modules, and then work out of the working directory of this one here. And then we ran a handful of commands to probe for the modules and to list them out, make sure that they were actually installed and running, and to make sure the devices were created, since every file and folder in Linux is a device and vice versa. And we got the output that we were expected to see on all those verification steps. So that was it. That was about it. Again, make sure you're in a Wayland session, otherwise it won't work. Okay, so that was how to install Waydroid on Pop! OS Linux 22.04. And I believe I already showed you. If I didn't, I'll show you one more time. The repo address for the Mbox modules, start page for Waydroid, and then you can link to the instructions from here. And there's some good troubleshooting steps here to look at in case you have trouble launching it. Okay.